SCP-3264 Causeless Effect. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. No direct action is required in the containment of SCP-3264. However, its current location, the now abandoned Site-41A, is to be kept under watch at all times by assigned observation personnel. Observation Personnel Procedures. Level 2 clearance required. Designated observers and researchers of the phenomenon are to be stationed at Site-41B and may only consist of personnel that have not been previously assigned to Site-41A. In addition, personnel must be restricted to levels B1 through B11 during observation periods. Under no circumstances may any Site-41A observation personnel access level B12, due to dangerously high radiation leakage following the destruction of the on-site power grid located on that level. Access to level B12 may only be granted to designated maintenance personnel. Extensive quarantine protocols are enforced on level B12 due to the presence of Type B Corriger radiation. Footnote 1. Corriger radiation is an intense form of gamma radiation with a spreading effect that will mutate neighboring particles, enabling them to emit Corriger radiation too. For further information, consult Thomas Corriger's paper, The Nature of Viral Instability and Its Effects on Modern Nuclear Physics. To avoid risking contamination, observation personnel are to have no interaction with maintenance personnel and must conduct all required research within the allowed observation period, 0600 to 2000 hours, in order to avoid unnecessary contact. Any observation personnel found within Site-41A outside of the observation period will be subject to extensive Emergency Level 3 decontamination procedures. Maintenance Personnel Procedures. Level 4 clearance required. Navigation of Site-41A is only to be permitted during the maintenance period, 2030 to 0530 hours, to avoid creating suspicion among observation personnel. When accessing Site-41A, maintenance personnel are to wear their supplied hazmat suits. No maintenance personnel may access B12 without first wearing their supplied hazmat suit. After entry to B12, maintenance personnel must first confirm the elevator system has been relocked to levels B1 through B11, at which point they are permitted to remove their supplied hazmat suit. Maintenance personnel are to operate under the pretense that B12 is filled with what shall be referred to as Corriger radiation, a fictitious form of radiation designed to deter accidental interaction with observation personnel. Any questions regarding Corriger radiation should be answered with a reference to a falsified paper known as The Nature of Viral Instability and Its Effects on Modern Nuclear Physics, written by Thomas Corriger. Additional procedures concerning the handling of Project Expunge can be found within your personal PEXP briefing files. Description: SCP-3264 is a phenomenon that manifests as the physically existent actions of a non-existent human that have occurred exclusively within Site-41A following a D-Class riot that took place on February 11, 2000, redacted. See related riot incident history. The entity has no physical presence itself, nor does it provide any measurable force on its environment, and in addition, it has never been shown to react to any form of stimuli applied to its surroundings or at its apparent location. Due to this, designated observation and maintenance personnel have been able to freely wander through Site-41A without risking unwanted damage to or from SCP-3264. Footnote 2. With the exception of Observation Incident 3264-02, in which an observer received 2 leg wounds after SCP-3264 discharged an on-site weapon. However, this has been deemed an accident as SCP-3264 appears unaware that any observers are present at Site-41A. Daily observed effects consist of trivial matters, including but not limited to showers switching on in the morning, then off after an average of 5 minutes 12 seconds, toilets flushing at 3 to 4 hour intervals, food in the Site-41A cafeteria being cooked without any measurable acting force, the subsequent spontaneous disappearance of the aforementioned cooked food. More drastic events include, but are not limited to, windows shattering, damage and/or destruction of on-site equipment, discharge of firearms, the deaths of former Site-41A personnel. See Emergency Action Summary 3264-1. All food, equipment, and firearms manipulated by SCP-3264 have exclusively been those that were present on Site-41A at the time of its original manifestation on February 11, 2000 redacted. As part of experimentation procedures, various food substances originating from off-site have been placed in the Site-41A cafeteria, mixed with food already present, but SCP-3264 has not been seen to interact with them. In some test cases, food and equipment originating within Site-41A have been taken off-site, yet experienced the SCP-3264 phenomenon as if they were still on-site, indicating SCP-3264 has some connection to the specific layout of Site-41A at the time it first appeared on February 11, 2000 redacted. Related Riot Incident History. SCP-3264 was first seen to manifest following the D-Class riot of February 11, 2000 redacted. After a containment breach was initiated by SCP redacted, 70% of the Site-41A security personnel suffered fatal casualties. At the same time, SCP redacted managed to break down the faculty power grid on level B12, causing a radiation leak that ultimately cut power to the whole of Site-41A. This resulted in the security system of the D-Class holding wing failing to operate, and 113 D-Class personnel broke free of their containment. The riot lasted 13 hours before a backup response team arrived on site and managed to subdue the D-Class personnel and recontain SCP redacted. An anomaly present in the 23 surviving D-Class personnel was made apparent when it was discovered they all believed they were still a part of the recently quelled riot. All 23 were reported to jeer about the success of raids on Site-41A sectors that never occurred, recurring cries generally along the lines of, "You'll never take us alive," and constant praise towards an unknown D-Class member allegedly leading the riot, a character the surviving D-Class personnel are unable to attribute a name to. Whether by choice or lack of knowledge is unknown. Since this was first observed, 17 of the survivors have lapsed into a severe catatonic stupor, 5 still believe the riot is taking place, and 1 has returned to his pre-riot state. See interview log D5153 3264. The effects of SCP-3264 manifested less than 24 hours following the riot, starting with the unexplained destruction of equipment, and then escalating to the violent deaths of several Foundation personnel, which led to a faculty-wide lockdown of Site-41A. Over the course of 3 days, the effects became decreasingly fatal until the situation was deemed stable and the lockdown was lifted, allowing Site-41A to be evacuated. Emergency Action Summary 3264-1. On February 22, 2000 redacted, 11 days after the first known manifestation of SCP-3264, a fatal incident involving several former Site-41A personnel took place. Dr. S., then stationed temporarily at Site redacted, was seen to experience a series of seizures, followed by what nearby personnel described unanimously as a blood-curdling scream, before he dropped to the ground and passed away less than a minute later. Following an autopsy, Dr. S was found to have died from a series of gunshot wounds to the abdomen and upper back, in addition to a similar wound at the back of the knee. Despite this report, no signs of any bullet fragments nor any shrapnel have been located in the body or around the area that the attack is believed to have taken place, and all witnesses of the seizure claim to have heard no gunshots during the incident. 3 hours following this report, the time of the incident was cross-referenced and correlated with an incident that took place within Site-41A, in which 2 observers had witnessed the unprovoked discharge of a firearm hanging in the on-site armory, an event attributed to the SCP-3264 phenomenon. It was discovered that the time of Dr. S's death and the discharge of the firearm happened simultaneously. A further 17 hours later, 3 more former Site-41A personnel were found dead in their own sleeping quarters, having suffered similar bullet wound symptoms, all within a minute of one another. It has since been noted that all 3 were known to work in Sector L of the Biology Department, alongside Dr. S. Due to these events, an emergency action protocol has been enacted, and all 38 of the remaining Site-41A personnel are to be monitored at all times, since it is likely that SCP-3264 still has some influence over them. In addition, all firearms located at Site-41A at the time of the D-Class riot, both sidearms and armory stocks, are to be dismantled and destroyed as part of the disarm protocol in an attempt to nullify any connection between them and those they would have affected. Footnote 3. This has since been proven ineffective. See Emergency Action Summary 3264-2. Emergency Action Summary 3264-2. As of June 10, 2000 redacted, 18 further personnel have been observed to die in similar circumstances to those mentioned in Emergency Action Summary 3264-1, each correlating with an event similar at Site-41A. These include, in chronological order, a sudden temperature increase detected among the fragmented remains of a former on-site firearm, destroyed following the disarm protocol, leading to the deaths of the former Foundation staff assigned to Sectors H and J. This has indicated that the current status of objects SCP-3264 interacts with have no effect on the final outcome. A series of knife wounds in the body of a security guard that correlated with the appearance of a knife in the hall between Sector G and H, where said security guard once acted on patrol. The discharging of the personal sidearm of the aforementioned security guard, an item that was off-site at the time of the incident. Weapon failed to be handed in as part of disarm protocol, leading to the deaths of 2 former Sector F personnel. The deaths of all Sector E personnel by a combination of bludgeon attacks and strangulation, the best correlation of which can be tied to the shattering of various view rooms that occurred in Sector E during the time period in which the former Sector E personnel died. A former Sector K guard, who previously confessed to having gone to Sector E during the time the D-Class riot began, to meet the now deceased Dr. V, whom he had been having an affair with. This further supports the theory that the order of deaths is not tied to the assigned location with Site-41A, but to actual location at the time of SCP-3264's manifestation. Remaining Site-41A personnel have made it clear that the events are taking place at increasingly deeper levels of Site-41A, leading to the conclusion that SCP-3264 is heading towards level B12 for some unknown reason. Under no circumstances can SCP-3264 be allowed to reach level B12. Interview Log D-5153-3264. Interviewed D-5153. Interviewer Dr. F. Forward D-5153 was a former D-Class at Site-41A known to have displayed various forms of erratic behavior even before the D-Class riot. This mentality manifested 4 days after his arrival at Site-41A, whereupon a sudden change in his psychological profile was brought on by some unknown event. Under suspicion that this abrupt change may be related to SCP-3264, an interview was conducted. Begin log. Dr. F. Hello, D5153. How are you feeling today? D5153. What do you fucking think? Very well. We shall get right to it. What can you tell me about your time on Site-41A? Time of my life, Doc. A real party. Never a dull moment. Friends dropping out left and right. What more could a guy ask for? Right. What do you mean by friends dropping out left and right? I hear you have said similar things before. Would you care to elaborate? Just messing with you, Doc. I ain't that crazy. That's strange. We have here in your file that you've previously said, and I quote, "They're disappearing, they're all disappearing. Where have they gone? Tell me what you did with them." And my personal favorite, remember me, please. Don't forget me like you did all the others. Jeez, you really did your homework, huh? Would you care to elaborate on those instead? It doesn't matter. You won't get it. None of you ever do. They didn't get it back at the site, and there's no way you'll get it out here. For the record, I need you to tell me anyway. 9 seconds of silence. D5153 is visibly agitated. You didn't work on that site, did you? No, I'm from elsewhere. So, I guess you didn't know shit about B12. The floor with the radiation leak? D5153 laughs briefly. Radiation leak? Is that what those bozos are saying to you? That is rich. Ain't you ever done one of these stupid interviews with one of your chums from that shithole? No, not yet. It's currently No, this is getting off topic. That figures. So, what do you think is on level B12? Hell if I know. Even guys like you didn't know. For example, I got chummy with one of the scientists here, forget his name. He used to sneak in stuff for me and the other guys there. Everyone loved that old geezer. I asked him about B12 one time and he said he didn't know either. He said we wasn't supposed to know, so I should just keep my mouth shut. How did you know about B12 to begin with? Well, every couple of months, you guys would come to take one of us down there. I'd hear it through my cell door. Take this guy down to B12, and we never see the guy again. It sounds like a routine test. Although, Dr. F pauses to examine on-hand documentation. It does indeed seem strange that we have no logs of any such activity in regards to that floor. Of course there ain't no logs, 'cause there ain't no one to remember to make any logs. Elaborate. You see, this is the thing. When those people got taken down to B12, they didn't just not come back. It was like they never even existed. Records are usually deleted afterwards. It just sounds like, come on, Doc. Use your head. I ain't got access to no records like you. How could I be talking about your damn records? What I mean is, no one remembered them at all. One by one they drop, but ain't no one even remembered that they were even there, let alone their name. All traces of them. Gone. Just like that. The researcher you mentioned before, the one you claim would procure items for you and other Class D personnel, could you identify him for us? I doubt it, Doc. Surely you haven't forgotten the face of someone you held in such high regard. D5153 is silent for 12 seconds and becomes visibly agitated again. One day, that scientist guy looked all sad, like, said he wouldn't be around much longer. But when I asked why, he wouldn't say. A few days later, no one remembered him either. D5153 is silent for a further 6 seconds. I'm telling you, man, everyone knew that guy in the D-Wing. We was all good friends, and then it was like, poof. No one had ever met him. Even the other science guys didn't even know who I was talking about. And, of course, you have no way to prove any of this. Damn it, Doc. How the hell can I provide something happened if there ain't no trace of their existence left? Then there isn't much for me to go on, even if I did believe you. Shit, I don't know. I told you, man, you guys never believe me. Okay, how about this? There was only about 100 or so of us in that place, right? Roughly, yes. Then why was there enough cells to hold at least 400 of us? That place was completely empty when the riot went down. It was a damn ghost town. I doubt whatever was happening there would warrant the loss of nearly 300 personnel. How do you think you could justify the loss of so many people? That's just it. You guys, the ones doing it. You don't remember them people either. You drop one of us, you forget they existed, you forget it ever happened, so you do it again. I am not here to debate absurd conspiracy theories with you. Let's just wrap this up. I'll humor you. Why are you the only one that remembers these people? I'm not. Well, I wasn't. There is another? Was. Yeah. I forget his name, just like all the others that went to B12. The only reason I knew I wasn't crazy was because he remembered them people too. Describe him. Resourceful guy. Pretty dangerous, really. Not someone you wanted as an enemy. The guy was a natural leader, always had people rallying around him. Always talking about he was going to stick it to you guys one day and get us out of here. What did he think of B12? Wouldn't shut up about it. Sounded crazier than I do. Said he was going to make you guys pay for what you were doing down there, whatever it was. Said he was going to find a way down there and make it his own, use it against you all. That guy was mad with revenge. I see. He sounds very optimistic considering his situation. You think? I don't know. I think if you knew him, you wouldn't say that. How so? Let's just say it's damn ironic that that riot took place a few hours after you took him down to B12. With him in charge, hell, we probably could have actually stuck it to you guys. Very well. We've used up enough time. Thank you for your cooperation. End log. Closing statement. D-5153 has since been terminated, and Dr. F has been reassigned to external field duties following administration of a Class A amnestic. Further research into Level B12 is to be suspended. Site-41A Anomaly 3264-3. O5 or specialized personnel access required. The following note was found by Research Assistant C inside a small Scranton Faraday cage. Footnote 4. The cage has been modified with a redacted integrated within its Scranton matrix. See information regarding ongoing research in the external document titled Scranton Faraday Iron 9 Modification 2.30. Within an empty, unused office at Site 41A. PEXP. Illegible. Gonna miss those D-class guys. Some of them weren't so bad. It's funny. I actually tried to help a few of them have a more pleasant stay, despite regulations. Maybe they were taking advantage of me. I don't know. I can be pretty naive sometimes. It doesn't really matter anymore. Now they know I know. I'm most certainly going to be on the receiving end of that thing down there. It hurts to think I won't even be mourned by my illegible. I will divulge what I can on the information I gathered, but I can't promise it will be of any use. Illegible. And when the elevator overshot my floor, I ended up on B12 somehow. They always told us to stay away from that floor so we wouldn't bother the maintenance personnel, but fate had placed me here and my curiosity got the better of me. I didn't venture very far. I'm way too much of a coward for that. But what I did, illegible. Thankfully, he didn't see me. When I got back to my office, I decided to check out the PEXP file I found. The papers are riddled with kill hazards I would rather not exposing you to, in case you lack the necessary training, so I'll try to summarize the contents here. PEXP, also known as Project Expunge, is a device illegible. I find it horrifying to imagine. The idea that more than just my current existence could be erased. It's more than just dying. It's removing something from time and space itself. No past, no future, no anything. The thought that all of the experience I have had, good and bad, could simply have not happened thanks to this machine. Reduced to less than even a memory. Illegible. And so using what I know of Scranton Faraday reality defense technology, I think I have constructed a fancy offshoot of the typical cage that would hopefully shield from most of the effects detailed on the paper. I pray that as much of the message as possible will illegible. The files ended with an addendum that covers an interesting flaw in the machine. They have theorized some sort of metaphysical disconnect between cause and effect. I don't really understand it. The logic involved is somewhat esoteric, but it seems they can't fully remove both yet. In other words, although the subject may be gone, the effects they would have created if they had continued to exist will still manifest. They have appropriately named this a Causeless Effect, and they appear somewhat worried about it. To avoid this, they pre-planned the execution of subjects as if they would somehow survive the ordeal, to create a set of inevitable events that force the causeless effect to follow a path where the subject would have been executed and is, therefore, unable to commit any further effects. Rather ingenious, really. But still not safe enough to stop them from worrying. God only knows what would happen if something were to happen to interrupt one of these planned executions. Illegible. Research Assistant C has since been administered a Class A amnestic and reassigned to external duties. Thank you for listening to SCP-3264, Causeless Effect, by Cyrus Firedawn. If you enjoyed this SCP, please like and subscribe, and follow the link in the description to the SCP Wiki, and vote with the article to support the author and the SCP Wiki as a whole. I'd also like to give a shout out to my YouTube members, Powerless, Last of the Four Horsemen, Stephanie Miller, Senescence, Crescent Wolf, Salzy, Chinese Modelo, Narodia, Bethany, Brandon Henry, Adrian McCarran, Eli Shoup, Sanjaya Anthem, Sterling, Guy Hart, Arkham Cookie, Purple Durple 85, Tanis, Ruler of All, and Thomas Marks. In addition, a shout out to my Ko-Fi supporters, Dillagaff and Purple Durple 85. Thank you for your support. If you would also like to have a shout out, please follow the link in the description. YouTube memberships of Confidential will have access to Saturday members only videos, and all members will have early access to videos. If you'd like to support the channel directly, please follow the Ko-Fi link. In addition, happy birthday to me. Have a great weekend, everyone.